guys, let's address the next topic, which is something else a little controversial. And I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this because Doc Brown released recently and the community is divided. Maybe not even divided, maybe in uniformity, because we got to talk about the elephant in the room, some issues, because he has holes in his head. And he also has a little bit of maybe of a neck issue. I guess it depends on who you ask, right? But I was watching some of the Sideshow First Look footage that we're seeing here. And when they were showing the articulation, at some point you can even see the neck like peg being shown. See, like right there. You can see it. So maybe that's a matter of just pulling the shirt up or pushing the head down a little bit more. But it's like and that sculpt to me looks a little bit soft. People have been saying it's just a flat out reused head sculpt from Back to the Future 2. I'm just going to go with what people say on that because I'm not a Back to the Future expert. However, it does look a little soft to me. And I'm a little surprised they didn't fix the holes in the head considering he has no glasses to put them in. So a little bit interesting of a choice. But Ben, I want to start with you on this one. With this Doc Brown, are you satisfied with this? What do you think overall about this figure?
It's been a hard week, to be honest, on this for me because I've had this paid off now for about a month. So I was very excited. I've got Marty McFly behind me. I've got the DeLorean on pre-order, on payment plan, I should say. It's slowly, chipping away at it. And I've been waiting for this Doc Brown for a while, right? And I mean, not even that long. I mean, they technically bumped it up. And I was excited about them bumping it up ahead of schedule. When I saw the photos of the figure, at first my initial gut reaction without hearing any community member talk about it was kind of what you said. It does look a little bit soft, which is surprising because I feel like Hot Toys typically does older figures, like older faces, I should say, better than younger people because they've got more age lines. There's more to sculpt. The way you can apply the paint can make it look really good. Look at the Dooku's and some of those figures from the past that look a little bit better. One of the hardest parts about being in this community, though, is feeling this tidal wave of disappointment from everybody. Because while I was still excited to get this guy in my collection even still, after seeing that and noticing the holes in the head sculpt and some of that stuff, hearing this tidal wave of disappointment this week has made me feel kind of just like blah and shitty. And like you realize how much of an impact our takes, but even just the community takes can have. Now, is that a healthy thing? No, we've talked about this before, right? Try to have your own opinion on it. We always say, I don't love it, but I'm happy for the person who is excited for it. But then when we have these tidal waves of disappointment, it can really squash that a little bit. For me, things like the cardboard plutonium case, I don't really care. I honestly think it looks really good. If it's got plastic edges and all the things, plastic to me isn't that much more premium of a material either, in my opinion. Like it's still cheap to make it and mold it. If this holds up well, like if it's sturdy, if it's durable, if I can look at it in my display case and know exactly what it's supposed to represent, for the extra $20, I'm still okay with this as an accessory. If I tried to get this after the fact because I decided to get the standard version and then was like, shit, now I kind of want this plutonium case, people are going to be selling this thing for like $100. Let's be honest. So yeah, like for the $20, yeah, sure, it's durable cardboard in some places, but I still think it looks badass either way. My gripe is with the head sculpt with the holes. I think that is just, it's almost like they're toying with us a little bit. Like how could they have possibly got that past their production line and been like, they'll be fine with it? Like we have communities of shows going on like every single day of the week. There's no way this was going to get past us without it creating like this tidal wave of not even negativity, just tidal wave of comments. I'm shocked that they would just have been cheap enough to just be like, it's fine, put it out. I would have rathered wait longer for the figure if it required a little more time to bake in the oven. Alternatively, it would have been cool if this was like part of a deluxe package where we got more of a neutral head sculpt. I know I've heard people say in the past, and I agree with it, the scene that this suit is from, he's oftentimes not all this expressive. It's not the great Scott moments of the films. It's more stoic, more talking, more I want to say less lively than this. This is cool for some scenes for sure, but it would have been cool to have two head sculpts. Maybe at least this be part of that additional deluxe package where you get that great Scott head sculpt from the past version, but here's also a new one that you can enjoy and look forward to. I think the only alternative will be, I wonder what they're going to do then with Back to the Future 2, because it's a different suit. Are they going to update that particular head sculpt? Because if they do, that could be a solution. If they make the neck compatible, you could take this head sculpt and put it on your new Back to the Future 2 head and get the sunglasses on eBay and maybe put the new sculpt on the first version and swap them around a little bit, assuming that they give us an update. So I guess we'll see. Ultimately, not to be too long-winded, I am a little bit disappointed, but I also have felt the wave of negativity this week, and I'm hoping that for the people out there, if they're like me, I still say maintain your level of excitement. I think once you get this figure in your hand, if you're a true Back to the Future fan and a Doc Brown fan specifically, I think you're going to love it anyways. Once it's on your shelf, people are going to come over, they're going to be like, that's the coolest Doc Brown I've ever seen, and I'm going to feel that way about my own collection, and we'll see how it goes. One last thing. The only thing that I wish Hot Toys would consider a little bit more often is not inviting competition to do it better, right? I want Hot Toys to still be the premium, the best out there, and I root for them all the time, despite some of this competition that's coming in lately. But by doing this, by giving us this head sculpt that is a bit soft, all it is really doing is inviting the competition or those those independent artists to make it better and sell their own, and that would be disappointing. Especially if we finally get this in hand, and then like Chrome Mando, boom, here's another better one all of a sudden. Look how much better this one is, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's competition or Hot Toys themselves when they give us the Back to the Future 2 copy. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's very reasonable, bro. Very reasonable take. But dude, yeah, it's just one of those things, Ben. I feel like I do want to be philosophically consistent insofar as, like, with Loki, I was like, all right, guys, let's wait a little bit. Let's see some more. Let's see some reviews. Let's see. Sideshow hasn't even done a first look for that one. They have for this one, so at least we're being able to see it on video. But yeah, Ben, I do think we're a lot harder on figures when they first release than we are afterwards. That's just a known fact, I feel like, in this game. Like, for example, I can keep saying Loki, right? I got the Loki in hand. I absolutely love it. I recognize the sculpt is not a 10, especially without the helmet on. But with the helmet on, dude, it's fucking beautiful. And also, you can look at Cable as another example. Cable, everyone flipped their shit when that got released. And now the people in hand are like, oh, it's pretty damn good, actually. So I think that one. Yeah, see, and Kiko, I think we tend to do that. So we tend to be a little more forgiving once we have it in hand. And we're like, okay, once there's a little bit of time for the outrage to die down, you can look at anything in life with cinema, right? Look at the prequels now. Like, at the time, everyone was like flipping out, like, oh my God, this isn't Star Wars, this is terrible. And now everyone's like, the prequels are dope. They had a unique vision, right? And not everyone's saying that, but a lot of people are. Over time, things start to change. Perceptions start to change. So I will say with this Back to the Future thing, yes, there are some issues. The cardboard thing, I'm with you though, Ben. I'm not a big Back to the Future fan, but I don't really see a huge issue. It was advertised that way from what I'm aware. And also, it looks great. So maybe it will degrade a little bit more quickly. I'm seeing some comments about that. Maybe so. But if it doesn't, then I don't really see a problem here. It looks amazing. Like you said, that's a good way to look at it. I don't know that plastic is that more premium of a material than a cardboard would be. So I don't know that it changes that much. But Kiko, I want to let you jump in here on this one. What do you think about this Doc Brown? Are you satisfied overall? I don't know. Are you a big Back to the Future fan?
Well, yes. Will, you just did my collection tour, and there is that lovely shot of Back to the Future.
There were 200 figures, man. I can't remember all those. I was thinking about your handsome haircut. So,
And also, before we get off track, and then you weren't giving me any Gremlins love, so no love for Gizmo. So
bro, when I saw that, I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
I know. I was sad about that. But Back to the Future. Let's talk about that. There's three things that defined my childhood: Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, and Star Wars. Those are the three. All right, and obviously Star Wars being the bigger IP is what I gravitated toward because they didn't make Back to the Future toys, or really, well, they're Ghostbusters, the Ghostbuster cartoon, toys, we had, but those died off, but Star Wars stayed around. So that's why Star Wars is such a mainstay. You can look behind me, there's all the posters. Anyway, Back to the Future is that, yes, this was a huge piece that I needed to get because I had the original two, and my wife's home, so you can hear the garage door opening. So you'll hear Drago in just a second. So I had the original Back to the Futures 1 and 2, Marty, as well as the Doc Brown Back to the Future 2. And yes, there he is.
There he is, the prince of his promised.
And so you end up, I might have to change some of my audio around just so we don't hear that. But all that to say, the thing I'm disappointed about is the box. I wish it was a little more premium, but this is Doc Brown, man. And as you had said, I'm not going to try to add anything more to it than what you just said. You said that so brilliantly and eloquently, kind of about, what it is as collectors. The thing that made me mad and I just love to get pissy about all kinds of things, is people were complaining that the dials on that remote weren't movable. They're like, Hot Toys has really just gone downhill. I was like, what are you asking for? I mean, do you really want to turn that? I mean, come on. I mean, people are just literally.
You want to turn the dials.
I mean, look at this. This is a cool picture. And that's kind of probably the way I'm going to kind of have mine set up and displayed. I mean, exactly who that is. Yeah, I'm a little sad that I'll have two figures right next to each other that they'll have the exact same sculpt, but I'll figure that out. And as you know, that with, speaking of the holes in the head, the other one comes with the glasses. Put the glasses on the Back to the Future 2 one. I've literally changed it because mine will be here on Monday. This Doc Brown will be here on Monday for me. And so I went ahead and threw the glasses on my BF2 one. I'm going to be okay. It's going to be fine. And you don't get some of these figures very often. I mean, you see the fact that we're even getting a second DeLorean. That's awesome. And kind of what you had said about the negativity and just finding things to complain about. Just be thankful sometimes. I mean, if you're really bitchy, oh, look, that calculator on that thing doesn't work. I'm upset about that.
I can't actually do multiplication.
Yeah, it's like I can't take this to school and be able to do some work, whatever. I mean, people just find anything to complain about. And I understand there's the people that say you need to you're paying too much. You need to hold them accountable. You need to expect them to do that. If you don't let them get away with murder, or blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I mean, damn, I mean, you have been given something that's a premium piece that encapsulates kind of your growing up and your childhood. And if you have an opportunity to kind of put that on the shelf, and as you had said, when you walk in and people is like, sweet, it's Einstein, Marty, and Doc, that is cool. And of course I wanted this because you don't get the stopwatch with Einstein, you get it with Doc. And so now I get to put the stopwatch on Einstein, and that makes me happy.
I've had Einstein in my shelving unit for a while, not displayed, because otherwise it just feels a little bit more of like a generic dog. But I think just with that stopwatch around his neck,
right. He even has the neck articulation for it, which is awesome.
Yeah, right.
What is it, Einie?
Yeah,
I wish it's good for me, man. I'm okay with it. I'm excited to have it. Is the price a little high? I think it was $290 for the deluxe or whatever. How many Christopher Lloyd figures are you going to get? Well, we're going to get 3 because, technically Back to the Future 3 is coming. Okay, fine. But this is the original Doc Brown. When people say Doc Brown, this is what they remember, and this is what you want.
Yeah, and it's funny, Kiko, you guys raised really good points about this, but I just feel like, yeah, man, there's always a place. I think what we're not saying at all is there's not a place for, there is a place rather for fair criticism. If you're giving like fair, constructive criticism, that's reasonable, right? That's more than, okay. But I think, yes, sometimes we get a little mixed up in the premium price of these things and what we're expecting a little bit. I do understand that he probably should not have holes in his head. That's not an unrealistic expectation. Or maybe that you were expecting for it to be the box to be plastic instead of cardboard. However, they did advertise it that way. And, I get we don't always read the fine print, Ben. I do get that. Like, we don't read the iTunes agreements when we hit agree, right? So it's the same thing.
It's a good South Park episode on that.
Right, exactly.
I was about to bring that up.
Exactly. So it's like the human centipede thing. So that's like what it's like. I mean, you see this, but it still looks great. I mean, whether it's cardboard or plastic, it looks great. Yes, the holes in the head, it's not ideal, and the head sculpt's a little bit soft. Not giving Hot Toys a pass here, but it's fair to criticize that and say, okay, I'm paying $290. I should be getting a little bit more. That's fine. Voice that. But I just feel like maybe, like you said, Kiko, some things like not being able to move the dials, that type of stuff is like.
And then the other one that bothered me, they're like, the tailoring sucks. It's too bad. He's wearing a jumpsuit. What do you want him to be wearing? And if you remember, if you actually seen the damn movie, he's got a bulletproof vest on underneath it. It's going to be baggy for that. Sorry, spoiler, guys. That's how he says
spoilers.
My bad.
Spoiler.
I haven't seen that yet.
The one, I was going to say, damn, I just ruined Will's
I don't care. It's fine.
One last add-on here, because I think it might be worthy of noting too. So one thing to mention, Collecting Weekly guys, they vetted the site the other day. They were saying that when it was originally solicited, the cardboard part wasn't on the website, and then it was updated as of November, which is pretty recent update. So for that, I can understand why some collectors may feel a little butthurt about that, because it is on there now, but I ordered this months ago, before November. I haven't looked at the solicitation since. So to me, that was still a bit of a surprise. But what I wish Hot Toys would start doing, and I think we've all talked about this when it comes to just all figure releases going forward and present, is a little bit more like consistency of the quality. Like you said, because we're paying the premium price, we expect a certain level of premiumness. I don't think it's on the show sheet for today, but like the She-Hulk was a good example. Will, I've heard you talk about that She-Hulk and how you're like, nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, a lot of people really didn't like the show, so they're probably just going to throw a jointed figure in the box.
Yep.
She's probably not going to be tall enough. Like, they're just going to get it out there, right? And then for $300, they released this figure the other day that looks like amazing. And it's like, oh, okay, but like, what? But why would you give that figure so much love and not a classic character like Doc Brown? That the older guys like me who can afford the Doc Browns now would absolutely frickin' love Hot Toys and celebrate the hell out of them even more than we already are if you would just give him a little bit extra love like you did with She-Hulk, which, as I said, for some people they love the character, other people didn't. I don't care. It's just kind of not very consistent in terms of the quality,
That's
which I think
absolutely
is the shitty part.
That's absolutely fair, bro. It is fair. And like I said, you know, I mean, I will say, I know InArt's going to be tackling this line. So that could be something that people hold out for. You're probably going to get rooted hair from that one. So, you know, if you're willing to hold out and pay a little bit more premium, if you love Doc Brown that much, that'll be something. But yeah, we want to, it's a fine line. Like, we want to hold Hot Toys accountable, but we also don't want to be unrealistic. But I think everything you're saying, Ben, is realistic and fair. Like, you know, like I said, it's not unfair to expect, you know, the head sculpt to be painted in and have no gaps, right? And then also for the neck to go in a little bit deeper and just, you know, small things that they just really kind of overlook.
You can make adjustments to kind of figure it out.
Right. You can, absolutely. You can, absolutely. And yeah, maybe they're clearly overwhelmed right now. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, like I said, I always try to hold them to the standard that I know they're capable of. So I will criticize this to a degree and say, okay, this is a little bit lazier than I hoped it would be. But I also don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's like, I know I got some dislike for this, but the Johnny Silverhand, I really don't like that figure. I just don't think it looks good. It's not my favorite, but I think this one is somewhere in between. And, you know, getting it in hand, I think a lot of people will still end up being pretty happy. Like, I can tell you the example I give is Loki, right? Loki, I love it in hand. It might be my favorite Hot Toy I have. So even though it's not perfect, but it's mine. So I'm happy about it.
Looked good in the collection, buddy. I saw your pictures. Looked
Thanks,
real good.
Appreciate it.
Real
man.
good.
So guys,